So this is part 2, and I'm basically continuing off part 1, the last 4 pay-per-views. Pay-per-view number 5 is King of the Ring in July. So after June and after Money in the Bank, you basically start building your way up to SummerSlam. And by doing that, you start the King of the Ring. You also start doing the conclusions probably that first week past the Money in the Bank. You have the conclusions of Money in the Bank's championship matches, another match, rematch, etc., etc. But you also start King of the Ring. King of the Ring is such a beloved pay-per-view, and people thought it was such a disrespect to have it just a TV tournament and not exactly a pay-per-view anymore, because it actually helped a lot of superstars. And I'll explain how. So say you did a 16-man pay-per-view. Well, you would have 2 matches here, 2 matches here, 2 matches here, and hell, you could probably throw in a match at Saturday Morning Slam, I don't know what the show's called, or even one on Main Event. Something to build up the show. And that'll actually really be beneficial as well. People will watch it and say, hey, Main Event has decent matches. Now the Saturday has impactful matches as well. And that's really good. You go to King of the Ring. It's another one of those, it's like Money in the Bank, where you could have the championship matches not be really big in terms of feud-wise, but they can be solid where people can still watch it. Plus, you can have the final 8 members of the King of the Ring tournament compete in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the overall final match. And I would like to have the actual final be the main event, because hell, if it's the King of the Ring pay-per-view, it should main event. Another thing that the pay-per-view does really well is when you do the top 8, sometimes there are superstars that normally don't make pay-per-view appearances that make top 8. Say you have a Michael McGillicuddy versus a Rey Mysterio in the quarterfinals. We all know Mysterio is going to win, but hey, Michael McGillicuddy made a pay-per-view appearance. It's against a Rey Mysterio. It could be a solid match. Who knows? It's a pay-per-view payout. A lot of fans get to see Michael McGillicuddy. I'm a Michael McGillicuddy fan if you haven't noticed by now, I guess. Or you can just go to other kind of ventures. Drew McIntyre versus face Kofi Kingston. Same aspect. People get to see him worldwide. Decent performance. No harm done. And hey, he had to win a match just to get there, so that's a positive in my opinion. The pay-per-view can also do really well in just terms of actually executing one-on-one matches that have no title and no essential repercussions because of it. You can throw in a one-on-one match in the middle of top of the quarterfinals and semifinals, both to lengthen the recovery factor of the participants of the King of the Ring, and to just give the fans something they want. That's really beneficial too. Then between the top 4 and the final match, you throw in one of the championship matches. Then after that, you can probably throw the other championship match, then actually make the King of the Ring the final match. Throw in a Divas match somewhere in there as well, and you can have a pretty fine pay-per-view as well, if you care about the Divas division at all. Finally, the King of the Ring winner deserves to main event SummerSlam. It's quintessential. It's probably like the midway Royal Rumble version, basically, in which the winner gets to main event SummerSlam. They did that in 2002, and I believe in 1994 with Owen Hart, it was a stipulation as well. I'm not too sure. Basically, the winner of the King of the Ring goes off against their respective brand's champion. You could per se that the runner-up may go against the other brand's champion, but it's thrown up in the air, and if the other belt's feud is pretty strong, then you can probably keep continuing it. So that's actually really helpful too. Then we move on to SummerSlam, which is in August. I know these last 3 pay-per-views have pretty much been within a month, but if they're strong enough and if they're actually a month apart instead of 2 to 3 weeks, then they can be really strong. SummerSlam is the midway point of the year. Actually, not really. It's for my pay-per-views lineup, it's nearly the end of the year. So it's SummerSlam. It's just a big pay-per-view, throwing a lot of one-on-one matches, have a lot of culminations. You can have, say, a semifinal match from the King of the Ring, do a rematch here at SummerSlam to open the show one-on-one. Cody Rhodes versus Kofi Kingston to open up. No belt, no nothing, no stipulation, just a match. Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Do it a couple more times. Throw in a random tag team match, but actually have it with tag teams that matter. Then you throw in a tag team title match later. Then you do the US and IC properly. Not just throw them in a match with a couple of divas or whatever that don't make any sense. and the pay-per-view tends to be in the old style ways. 2002 SummerSlam was amazing, considering the fact that the first 3 matches were just one-on-one matches that basically were just there to entertain. They had somewhat credible storylines that were actually really entertaining to follow, but the match itself presented was way more better than what people had expected. So SummerSlam is an overall culmination of basically the first 2 pay-per-views. So yeah, I don't think I mentioned that properly, but I think basically with Money in the Bank and King of the Ring, there could be some feuds going on that may lead into SummerSlam, aren't really in the forefront of the things, and when King of the Ring finishes up, you start going towards SummerSlam and you start going off on all these tangents start combining into one. After that, we go into Extreme Rules. I took out Hell in a Cell, I took out Over the Limit, I took out all these pay-per-views because they're essentially waste. Hell, last year Hell in a Cell only had one Hell in a Cell match. So why'd you name it Hell in a Cell? Couldn't you name it something else? No Way Out was supposed to be all steel cage matches. We only got one. Anyways, Extreme Rules would be Extreme Rules. It's made in October, throwing a Halloween theme. Not really, which is why I almost wanted to make this Halloween Havoc. But hey, people want to see something extreme, and other than Money in the Bank, in my opinion, this is probably the most extreme pay-per-view you'll get as well. So again, just make whatever matches you want here. Steel cage, Hell in a Cell, ladder matches, TLC matches, etc., etc. And you could probably say, hey, where's Elimination Chamber? That's always been a big fan of mine as well. You know, I like it a lot. Hold your horses. Let's slow it down here. But basically, Extreme Rules is just this overall. It's basically the fall version of the summer lineup, in which this is probably one of those. This is probably the closest you're gonna get to a throwaway pay-per-view you're gonna get out of these 8 pay-per-views. It's the closest you're gonna get, but it's an entertainment factor that's gonna build it back up. You're gonna say, well, the feud might not be strong, but I do want to see them in a ladder match. The feud might not be strong, but it's a table match, so I'm pleasantly intrigued. The belt's not on the line, but there could be huge repercussions. So it's something along those lines where people are going to be interested because of the fact that it's a stipulation, not so much of that it's a storyline. But it's still a decent enough pay-per-view that people do tune into. And after Money in the Bank, it's probably the next consistent pay-per-view besides the top 4. Then the overall ending of the year would culminate with Survivor Series, the final of the Big 4. And this is where I would throw Elimination Chamber, but I'll wait on that. October is Extreme Rules. The end of November, Thanksgiving time, is Survivor Series, and that's just tradition. I'm not gonna go to December. I'm gonna let December be a Christmas themed kind of WWE where they can do all their shenanigans, and it wouldn't really hurt because then in January they start all over into the Rumble. But in Survivor Series, you build up feuds, you build up big tag team matches. This is another pay-per-view that I think could be in the sense of the feuds don't necessarily have to matter, but because there are traditional 5-on-5, 4-on-4, or however you want to do them, tag team matches, the fans will get reinvested because hey, from here on out, these can reignite new feuds leading into the Rumble, or etc., etc. It's also a way to have a lot of people on one show. Throw in 2 big traditional tag team matches, a mid-card belt match, and whatever is ranking lower in the title picture, like if the World Heavyweight title is not doing as big as the WWE title, make that a match. And then you get to the Elimination Chamber. And then I'm probably skipping other matches you can throw in there too, a generic tag team match. Then you have your Elimination Chamber. You basically do it how it originally meant. Once a year, one time. One time. That's how WWE planned to do it, one time. These 2 Elimination Chambers that were basically second guarantees to WrestleMania if you didn't win the Rumble, or you can win the title. So you didn't really have to win the Rumble, but you could kind of win at the next pay-per-view, a la Jericho in 2010. It kind of takes away the luster of the Rumble because you don't really have to win the Rumble to be a champion. Whatever. Survivor Series would be the perfect place to do this. Again, whatever title is doing better in terms of ratings or feuds, that would be the main event. Then you do the other main event, or the prelude to the main event would be the other title. And it could do really well as well, because not only is the Elimination Chamber there, and it's only one Elimination Chamber, when people are saying, oh, hey, this is also the World Heavyweight Championship match, oh, it's probably in the Elimination Chamber too. No, it's a one-on-one match. I'm very intrigued. I'm actually really intrigued. You throw in a couple of, like I said, big tag team matches, maybe a regular tag team match, a mid-card belt, a Diva belt in there. You have yourself a generic Survivor Series, just the way probably Mr. McMahon intended it to be, with a lot of focus being on this whole aspect of survival and this whole aspect of just being a really big pay-per-view. Again, just one Elimination Chamber, because it makes it more of a primary focus. It doesn't take the linger away from anything. It keeps either feuds going, or it can start new feuds. You can have the person who lost in the Elimination Chamber to the champion feud all the way to the Rumble, let it conclude there, and you basically restart the cycle all over again. So that's what I feel in terms of that, and that's how I overall felt about these pay-per-views and how I wish they would be lined up again. But because basically, personally, I would watch that lineup over what we have right now, because these pay-per-views kind of are just meh right now. Night of Champions, I didn't really want Night of Champions because basically we were losing the luster of Night of Champions. Yes, the first four were fine because they actually meant something. But now that we're having these generic one-on-one matches that are there, that they take away from the name of the pay-per-view, and we only have like 6 belts and like 2 of them that we actually care for. So why not give the fans what they actually want to see? Big feuds, big matches, no belts, no repercussions. And I think that would be very beneficial. Again, this is all my personal opinion. If you don't agree with it, hey, that's fine by me. If you do agree with it, hey, like this video, subscribe, comment. Do what you need to do. Let your voice be known. Hopefully you guys all enjoy the Royal Rumble if you're watching it, and if you're not, then hey, stay tuned and I'll give you a recap of everything I saw firsthand. This has been Joel from AZ Yu-Gi-Oh! Village, Yu-Gi-Oh! Related stuff, wrestling information here and there. Great mix. I'll see you guys later.